Our next question concerns Social Security, and Mr. Corker, if you would respond first. Judy Hillman has the question.
Over 1 million Tennesseans depend on Social Security benefits every month. With the baby boomers getting ready to retire, shoring up the program's financial solvency will be a key issue facing Congress next year. Do you believe creating individual private accounts funded by Social Security payroll taxes would help or hurt the program's solvency? What specific proposals do you support that would strengthen Social Security for future generations?
Mr. Corker, this is your turn to go first.
Okay, well, I'm very concerned about retirement security for people all across the state. I tell you, as I travel the state, so many companies now are not providing defined benefit plans anymore, and so many people are getting older and older and not setting aside the money that they need. My mother just turned 78 today. It's her birthday, and I know that her generation is going to be fine. And I think that though my children's generation, I'm very concerned about. My opponent, again, has been there for 10 years, and we need to approach this in a bipartisan way. We really do. We need to get people together and quit bickering. Actually, Medicare is going to go bankrupt 20 years even before Social Security. So we need to make sure that everybody who's 50 and above absolutely has the benefits that they've been guaranteed. And I think we need to look at the younger generations and figure out ways of slowing the growth. As far as the personal accounts goes, I do not think that's a way to make it structurally more sound. I think we need to work together to create a way to make that happen. But on the other hand, I think that once we've made those tough decisions, to make sure that it is structurally sound, I'm okay with a portion of our younger generation being able to voluntarily put aside money in their own personal accounts.
Mr. Ford.
This issue is really, and it's a wonderful question, and thank you, about retirement security. We face a challenge in the nation going forward. We have too many people that will qualify for Social Security who've earned it, and we have too few people working to support them all. At some point, you're going to create a very serious tension. I happen to believe that not only should we take a look at Social Security and reforming it, Medicare has to be part of it. I have a concrete plan. Allow Medicare to negotiate directly with the drug companies. Number two, I think Social Security should go to people first who need it the most. People who work 30 and 40 years, who didn't amass millions of dollars, and I applaud your success, sir. They should have it before my opponent. If you're a fireman, firewoman, a cop, a paramedic, a teacher, a truck driver, you deserve it first if you work 30 to 40 years of your life to earn it. Now, I think we have to step back and figure out how do we expand the options. I have a bill in the Congress, and my opponent all the time says I've been in Congress for 10 years. I would remind him again, his party has been in the majority the entire time I've been there. The bill I have is actually one I'm working with a Republican on. I probably shouldn't say his name. My Democratic friends may get a little upset, but his name is Rick Santorum. He's a Republican in Pennsylvania. He's my co-sponsor in the Senate. The bill calls for every newborn to receive a $500 account in his or her name that can grow over a period of time with infusions of up to $1,000 from anyone who seeks to give. Their aunt, uncle, grandmama, granddaddy, mama, daddy, neighbor, pastor. Anyone can give. You can't use it but for three purposes: to go to college or graduate school, to put a down payment on a home, or you can withdraw at age 50 tax-free, with a small penalty, and at age 60 tax-free. It's my hope when I get to the Senate, if my friend Mark Pryor, who was in Nashville with me just last week, and said that I would be admitted into the Gang of 14, that's the group that prevented the judicial nominations from being filibustered, I'm hopeful I can work with those 15 and the 85 others to get it passed.
Mr. Corker, 30 seconds.
I want to go back to a prior comment, and that is I have never, ever in my life employed an illegal immigrant. And I know my opponent takes liberty with words. That has never happened. Thousands and thousands of people work for subcontractors under me. And when one was found to have 4 illegal immigrants, the INS absolutely applauded us for so quickly getting them off the job. But I'd like for you to know, I'd like to ask you, how many people have you employed with money other than government? How many people have you tried to provide health care? I mean,
listen, time's up, and if you guys want to change the rules and ask each other questions, I'm all for it. But let's stick to the format as long as we can, okay?
Okay.
All right? Vicki, you have another question.
Thanks, Chris. Beth Scott Clayton has our next question, and it concerns economy and minimum wage. And Mr. Fort, you'll respond first.
Good evening, gentlemen. What policies do you advocate to promote a vigorous economy, and what are your thoughts on increasing the minimum wage for Americans? Thank you.
Thank you. Another wonderful question. Number one, I've supported an increased minimum wage every year I've been in the Congress. Unfortunately, we've not been able to pass it because my Republican friends in the House have either voted it down, or once it reached the Senate, my Republican friends there ensured that it would not pass. I'm a believer that the American economy is going to grow if we do three big things going forward. Number one, we've got to balance the budget. To do that, two things need to happen. One, we need an amendment to the Constitution to ensure that we balance it year in, year out. And two, we should end all of that pork barrel spending until the budget is balanced. I'd throw one or two other things in there if I had enough time. There'd be no more no-bid contracts anywhere for the government. And four, we had to cut every federal agency with the exception of education and veterans in an effort to bring everything back into order. Two, we must educate the smartest and the best to compete with those around the globe. India and China, they're not playing for second and third place. They want to win, which means we have to graduate smarter students from TSU, who just brought in a new president. Congratulations, Dr. Johnson. Vanderbilt, University of Tennessee, University of Memphis, even the University of Pennsylvania and the University of Michigan, where I've been criticized for going. They too can play a role in helping America remain vibrant and strong. Because if we are to win, America must not only produce the best graduates, we must also produce those who have who are morally upstanding citizens as well. That's why I'm a firm believer. When we reauthorize No Child Left Behind, character education must be part of it.
30 seconds.
How much?
30 seconds. I'm sorry, no, you have a minute, two minutes, I'm sorry.
All right.
You got me confused.
I'm
ready, go ahead.
Thank you.
No, you got 2 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
it. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
All right, now
correcting
when's the 2 minute start, actually?
Now.
Okay, thank you. You know, that's an issue that concerns me greatly, maybe one of the driving issues for me to run for the United States Senate. I was in China 10 or 11 months ago and met with central government officials there and people from our consulate's offices, and it is amazing, amazing what is happening in that country. The infrastructure they're building, the focus on math and sciences, the engineers they're producing, and we wish for all people to do well. That's what we are as Americans. We want people all over the world to do well. But I want to make sure that we have policies in place so that this next generation and generations after them continue to have a higher standard of living and a better quality of life. And that means making sure that this country is a place of innovation. And we need to do everything we can to generate that. Pursuing math and science, pursuing engineering, making sure teachers are prepared to teach young people, making sure our young people understand the challenges of the future and are prepared for that. But in addition, that means making sure that we are energy independent. And we cannot be economically strong going into the future as long as we are so dependent on the Middle East for oil. That jeopardizes our economic security. It also jeopardizes us in other ways. Healthcare affordability. There's so many companies around this country that are trying to do the right thing by their employees. It's not just an issue for people who sit in their living room and wonder about whether they're going to have health care, but it's for companies all throughout the state of Tennessee that are competing globally around the world. So we as a country have to do everything we can to make sure that we slow the growth of health care. That's something that I'm committed to do. I've stated that over and over. I will tell you that as a small businessman, I sold my company, have 3 employees, and the cost for small employers to try to cover people is exorbitant. I can relate to it. I want to make sure that we do everything we can to ensure that this is another great American century. Thank you for the question.
Now 30 seconds, Mr. Ford.